For centuries, we've been told what is pure and what is sinful, what is allowed and what is forbidden. Somewhere along the way, we severed the human from the divine. We silenced intuition, shamed the sacred, and buried ancient wisdom. But here, we remember. Welcome to the Forbidden Fruit Podcast, an exploration of the mystical, the intuitive, the cosmic forces that weave our existence. This is a soulful sanctuary where we embrace the strange and unusual and use it as fuel to reclaim the magic, restore the sacred, and discover ultimate truth. Come and share your stories in a space where fierce hearts and fantastical gifts are not only welcomed, but needed. So take a bite. You were never meant to be forbidden. Oh, welcome, Catherine. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to chat with you. So, I'm curious, what are 3 words or frequency bandwidths where you are focusing your energy?
This year, I've been really focusing on embodying and truly living with joy, with peace, and perfect. And while everything in life is perfectly imperfect, like the one that's really edgy for me is this perfect. What is perfect? And Spirit has told me for the longest time now that everything is exactly as it is meant to be. That is perfection. That you can't jump from A to Z, but you can go from A to B to C, and you following that journey that comes with trust, with faith, with not knowing the steps ahead of you, but knowing in your heart that everything is perfect. You are always held, you are always loved, and holding that depth of truth and trusting within your heart that you are doing exactly what you are meant to do. Not should. That's a very, very, very specific word. That what you are meant to do, what you came here, what you decided before you got here, when you made out your plan and your map of your life, of what is supposed to happen for you, through you, with you. Because embodying that, you embody that all is perfect. All of the things that are heavy, that are hard, that are unexpected, that you may not see in advance. In fact, I think a lot of them you don't see in advance. Where you're surprised and you're shocked, where you think life's going to go one way. You know, you think you're going to get a promotion or if there's an important vote of a role you're supposed to be in coming up and you thought it was that you should do something. And when in reality, there is so much more. Because it's not about what you should do, it's about what you are meant to do. And when you feel that deep in your heart and you come to terms with the relationship you hold with what you believe you are being called to do and what your soul and your heart is calling deep inside, that is perfect.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for that reminder. I think that's really important for both of us and probably everyone listening to remember that everything happens for a reason, whether we realize it or not. And there is this, like, I guess I believe in fate, destiny, and I also believe in free will. I believe that we craft certain experiences and the connection that we have with certain people and different things that happen in our lives to help us grow and evolve. And that everybody does this. So all of our maps are so connected and interwoven. Our processes of growth and exploration. And this idea of perfectionism. In one of my meditations recently, I was bringing in the frequency of divine perfection. And it was really interesting because in the meditation, Spirit showed me the idealized version of divine perfection. What I thought perfection would feel like in my system. So they showed me this frequency that was, I don't even know how to fully describe it, other than it was ultimate freedom. That was the energy I felt. Just freedom, freedom to be who I am, to exist, to live. And there was no rules, no expectations, no heaviness, no judgment, no one telling me you're right or wrong, you're evil or good. Just, just the freedom, right? It was so light and fluffy and sparkly. And then as I was sitting in that, bringing it into my system and asking every cell to embody this frequency of divine perfection, all of a sudden, I felt the energy flip, and it was like they turned off the faucet. And all of a sudden, I was sitting there, just me, just me. And then as I sat in that place, I went a little deeper and I realized that that divine perfection energy is already there, has always been there, will always be there. And it's not something that I need to shift my awareness into or my frequency into beyond myself. It's just a remembering of this seed, this code. And every time I tap into the energy of freedom, that's it. That's for the perfection. So it was really interesting how Spirit was showing me this map of these energies and how they connect. So when you were talking about like what frequencies, what energies can we focus on as a theme for the year, right? Where are the places of growth? That came to my mind around perfection and perfectionism and idealization of perfectionism. So pretty cool. Does that make sense with what you're sharing?
Oh, absolutely. And I guess it came about for me. Recently, I had a vision and a meditation I had where, I was standing in a circle. Some people I knew, some people I didn't know. And in that moment, I just felt this massive, massive download of all of the layers of the veils of distortion were just gone. They just dissolved. And everything I had ever wanted and so much more was not just available, but I had it. And then realizing in just sitting and having this experience and knowing I've actually had it all along. And not just me, everyone. Everyone has had it all along. And it's through the process of letting go of the distortions, which is the veil, the layers, whether it's beliefs or understandings or your perception. When you let go of that, you come to a place of true freedom where we can all stand in a circle together. No one is better, no one is more or less. We are all uniquely different rays of light. And when you realize that, you embody the understanding that there is no judgment. And the only judgment that has ever existed is your perception. And letting go of that, that is the ultimate freedom. Just imagining for even just a moment, not having to even wonder, being completely free of any judgment directed to you or away from you.
Yeah. It's like the vision that I get around in spiritual circles. I hear a lot about the new earth and this process of ascending our consciousness and awakening to our higher truth. And spirit shows me this place where we are all connected through the heart. We're not talking with our words. We are telepathically exchanging energy, frequency, because everything is energy. When I channel light language, I'm massively outing myself here. When I channel light language and people say, "Well, what are you saying? How do you know what that even is?" And I'm like, "It's universal. I read frequency. I know the frequency is saying, remember who you are. You are home. You are loved." Can I write it out in a book and exactly define the words and the clicks and the little pops and these strange things that happen when I'm channeling? No, but my telepathic nature and my heart consciousness knows the frequency. And so I allow that frequency, I tune into it, and I allow it to grow exponentially through me and utilize the voice, the expression, in whatever way it can actually be received by the current human consciousness. And so spirit has shown over and over that our true nature is to communicate with energy, with our hearts. And the only reason we can't currently is because we're so wrapped up in judgments and fear of being judged and the fear of the pain that comes when we are judged. So we create these cages around ourselves that distort our true energy and our true ability to even communicate authentically. So many people say, "Oh, I want to be authentic. I want to be real. I want to be raw." No, you don't. What would it be like if every single moment of every single day you're walking around and every other being, not just person, but animal and tree, what would it be like if every single moment your heart's on your sleeve and everything around you can feel you, see you, sense you fully and completely? Most people would be like, "Oh God, no." Right? There's no hiding, no masking, no lying, no misunderstandings because it's all there, right? Laid out on the table. And that's where we're heading. That's our true nature as a humanity. That's the way that other beings communicate in other realms and other dimensions, beings of higher consciousness, even from other planets and other star systems. Words are archaic. Language, the way that humans know it, is like the caveman thinking he has a rocket ship, communicating through energy. That's the future, and that is the true nature. And that idea of standing in a circle and allowing yourself to be fully seen and heard, and maybe you'll be understood and maybe you won't be, right? Depending on who's in your circle. But I feel like that's part of the conversation that we're having here. Why we're creating the podcast is so that we can create that safe place where people can show up in a circle and they're allowed to be whatever they need to be. That is freedom. That is perfection.
And any resistance that you feel to the idea where it would feel uncomfortable to energetically stand in that circle completely naked, knowing that people can see you and you can see them. Those are not separate. Knowing that you can see everything about everyone in that vulnerable state, knowing that you are held just as they are held, and that we are all on the same page. We are all here to make the place better, to be more because we are together, because we are willing to work together, to work through any confusion or distortion. And it all starts within. It all comes from within you. Any resistance that you feel to energetically standing there naked is not about how do others see me. It is about how do I see me? How do I show up? How do I show the truth of who I am? Which means I have to let go of those layers myself so that I'm ready to embrace another in that way, because it is vulnerable and that is true safety. And that's how you get freedom, because freedom isn't meaning you're alone. It isn't I'm better than you. It's I have something you don't. It's we are all collaborating. That 1 + 1 = 3 or exponentially more. That's the true process of ascension that we are all on,
Mhm.
knowing that we are all the same, yet all uniquely different in our own hue of who we are. And when you mix all those colors together, they create the most beautiful rainbow of light.
Mm. It's fascinating. Like, as you're sharing, I'm getting this memory, these little pokes. You always help me to connect the pieces, right? And I'm getting these little pokes of those experiences in my life where I've had, like, I would call them sacred relationships. And we haven't really do- dive dove into that rabbit hole yet. We will. But these relationship connections where, you meet someone and you know them and they know you and you don't even know each other, but you do. And I've had those experiences of feeling completely open and raw, vulnerable and naked in front of another person without any like human framework of safety or sanctuary or judgment or non-judgment, but it's just this energy of universal knowing and just completely seeing. They see me, I see them, and it's terrifying and also so freeing. And it wasn't in those instances, it wasn't about always being perfect. It was about allowing everything to just be. And those relationships taught me where I had expectations and attachments around how others view me and how I would take in how others viewed me as a form of how to be myself because I didn't feel safe to be me, right? They would highlight all those beautiful patterns. And I think it's something that I'm always going to be working on, right? Loving myself and showing up authentically and feeling safe to be myself because I'm human and we've all had those experiences where it isn't safe to be fully ourselves. So we have to, at least at this point of human consciousness, we have to curate these safe spaces. And it's so beautiful because you're in this place of understanding that with me. And I feel like together we get to create that space that I so wanted to create with those people that I had those connections with, but they weren't ready and I wasn't ready. And yet I saw the potential of it. And I felt how amazing it is, how freeing it really is, that you can show up warts and all. And if you are able to commit to just allowing the creation to unfold, the 1 + 1 is 3, it really is magic. It's pure creation energy. We can just love each other and love ourselves. And no matter what shows up with the ego, no matter what little gremlins are snarling in our ears, telling us, this is bad, this is good, this person's this way, meh, meh, meh. If we can just anchor to the heart and to the knowing that we're all part of this divine, magical thing, we really can create another world experience that is free from so much pain and struggle. I believe that we can learn and grow through pain and we can learn and grow through pleasure. Both exist on the spectrum, you guys.
It's all a matter of choice.
Hmm.
And that requires courage and bravery, trusting in your faith, and a willingness to work through that heaviness that you feel and clearing out the gremlins within you so that you have space to hold it for others. And that understanding and that remembrance of knowing that maybe not in this lifetime, but at some point, whatever the person in front of you is going through, wherever they're at, you too have been. And if you haven't been there yet, maybe they're further on their path than you happen to be in that moment. By you holding space for them to have their experience, then that creates that sacred reciprocity for them to hold space for you where you're at, knowing that one day you will be in their shoes and they will be holding space for you and you are holding space for them. Because when you take that divine connection and you create that loop of understanding, of unity, that's when you tap into that unified field of consciousness of all that is, where there is no separation. And you have, whether it's for a moment or a lifetime, an opportunity to become so much more than just one.
Yeah, and that's that energy of the unified field and getting to create and collaborate, not just with myself, but with all of creation and with other humans that show up in my sphere. Like, that brings me so much joy. I get so excited. I'm like a little kid on the beach building sandcastles and just being in that pure creative space. And I know that it's there. And I also know that we have a lot of work to do as a humanity and as individual humans. And I'm doing it too, right? This process of self-awareness and self-excavation, and also learning how to relate with others in such a way that we get to create something beyond the judgments, beyond the fears, beyond the triggers, beyond all the mirroring and the reflections and all the things that happen. Because our relationships are the fodder for our growth. It's not just that internal thing, it's that relational thing. And that relational thing is so powerful. It's so much more powerful than the thought gremlins I come up with, right? Another person reflecting stuff back to me or me activating something in their system, like that becomes this amazing symphony that sometimes sounds very off key, depending on what's happening. And if we just have the awareness that this is part of this process of growth, right? I think that leads to the self actualization, that place of knowing self, loving self, and not being stirred up or squished down by those connections outside of us, being fully self-contained and also fueled by creation in every moment. That's my goal, to embody divine grace. Like that to me is enlightenment. To be in that space of I am creation. Creation is me, and all of this is happening. And I get to choose what I witness, what I engage with. I get to choose all the other parts of me that I get to engage with or perceive or not perceive. And if all of us are doing that, if all of us become the God of our own universe, like the universe of ourselves, and let go of trying to control everyone else and just start mastering our own thoughts and our own energies, like, wow, anything is possible, right?
And that potential is beautiful. And when you realize that whatever you came into this incarnation as, with the difficulties and the struggles and the things that you plan to go through and experience, every single step that you take forwards, every breath you take creates a ripple in creation, a ripple that spans across all timelines, that changes as every step you take in embodying what you are calling in and embodying that unifying understanding and compassion and heart within you. Every single step creates countless ripples in all directions, which clears your lineage, which clears the future, which clears all versions of yourself as you see those reflections in front of you that you call other people. It's all clearing and it's all building and it's creating this massive momentum. And it is so important to be willing to do the work. And instead of shying away and saying, I'm going to go and do this to cope, I'm going to escape in this way, but instead facing that tidal wave of creation head on, and you say, yes, I'm doing this. And I'm showing up perfectly imperfect, exactly as I am, knowing that everything is exactly as it is meant to be.
It's so interesting because I see that and I feel that and I agree with that. And then there's the other part of me that's like, well, certain things we can say no to. Certain things that are very difficult, we don't need to stay in,
Absolutely.
right? So it's like
Mhm.
for those listening, we're not saying stay in places that are harming you or like don't stay because it's hard and you think that's the only way that you're going to grow. We're saying be open to the creative potential and learn how to discern what is creative potential and what is actually stealing your light or draining your life force. Because there is a difference. There's a fine line between fear and excitement.
Exactly. And that's where it is so important to come back within yourself to decide this is the right path for me. This is where I am meant to go. Because when you feel in there and you let go of the distortion of that experience, whatever it is. For me, when I went through the divorce process that I was in, it was difficult in the moment to see because of the distortions of what I thought things were supposed to be, or the things people told me about this is what marriage is, this is what you do, this is what you're supposed to allow. And the only thing that saved me was me getting clear with me and deciding, what do I want in my life? And is this experience of this particular marriage, this way, this relating in this way to this person, is it fueling my growth or is it stifling my growth? And none of it was about another person. It wasn't about what other people said or thought or shared or said, here's the shoulds. You should do this or you shouldn't do that. It was never about any other energy around me. It was all about how do I relate to this situation? And is this bringing me life? Am I bringing life into it? Where do I go from here? And for me, not staying in that situation was the most courageous thing I could do. And that is how I found myself going through that journey. So it isn't about saying, I'm going to fight against everything. It isn't saying that I'm going to take whatever's hard and push against it. It is no, it is always come back to yourself. Feel with who you are. See yourself, but get so clear with who you are that you're willing to stand there naked for you. That you're willing to show up for yourself because that is the most courageous thing to do. And when you can do that for yourself, then at some point you'll be able to do it for others.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing. It's we go through so many difficult things in life, and I know divorce is one of those things that I wouldn't wish on anyone. And yet so many people go through it. I mean, I'm the product of divorce, and I've definitely wrestled with that in my life as well. And it's it's the little things. It's the little things that insult our soul. And we bypass them because they're little. Maybe we don't give voice to them, or we just convince ourselves that it's not a big deal until all those little things become the mountain, and the mountain starts having an avalanche, and then we have to make a life-changing choice, right? I was just feeling into this last night, actually. Little things of little things that happen in my family or in my marriage or with the kiddos that leave me feeling disrespected. Little things like I cleaned the kitchen and then I come home and it's a mess again. Like that's a little thing. But when it happens over and over and over, and I've expressed my desire to have some assistance and some respect, and it keeps getting ignored from my perspective, I can choose in that moment to get upset and to start a fight or just rage or slam things around or whatever. I can choose that. Or I can choose to call a family meeting and express my needs in a more respectful way. Or I can choose to just remove myself from the situation, depending on where my energy is, right? Choosing to engage or choosing to go and cocoon and find my center so that I can then engage from a centered place, right? So I was doing that last night. I was tired. I'm recovering from getting sick. And I felt these little pokes of disrespect coming into my awareness. Now, the key here is I'm not blaming other people. I'm recognizing I'm feeling disrespected. Okay, so what do I need in that moment? And then I'm tuning in with myself and asking, well, I'm actually really tired and I want to honor that I feel disrespected. But right now, if I try to have that conversation, I don't have the energy to stay in my center. So I realized that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go brush my teeth and I'm going to make a cup of hot tea and then I'm going to put myself to bed because that's what I need right now. And I will address this when I am centered. But I'm not going to bury it. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not feeling this because if I let this go, it will become a mountain and then it will become an avalanche and it will crush anyone in the vicinity, including me.
Mhm.
So it's just recognizing what is it that is nourishing? What is it that's helping me to grow? And sometimes the nourishing growth thing feels good, and sometimes it doesn't feel good. But that's not the indicator of whether we stay or go. The indicator is, what am I? Who do I want to be? And what do I want to create? And anchoring there and inviting these other expressions to join you in that and letting them go if they don't want to. That's fine too. But don't let it determine who you are, your self-worth, or your deserve level. Because everything that you desire in your heart of hearts, you already deserve it simply because you exist. Anyway, that's my perspective. I mean, do you have another way of like, how do we know? How do we know when it's a creation process that we get to create something new? Maybe it's always a creation process, right? But how do we know to stay or go? Like through your process of divorce, like when was that moment that you finally knew?
No one can answer that question for you. For me, when I realized that a line had gotten crossed, and that's when I made my decision. And for a long time, I had very, very soft boundaries. I allowed so much more to happen in my life and my children's lives than should have ever happened. And I allowed that because I didn't know, because life was moving so fast and I was using the excuse of being too busy and too many things going on. I had a lot of children. I had a business. I had so many different things I was trying to juggle all at once. And it had gotten to the point where I had lost almost all of myself in that giving and being willing to make everything work and allowing everything to just happen as it fell out, which in one sense is beautiful, that allowing things to play out as they need to. But the avalanche caught me. I love that analogy that you had of, because eventually when you let those little things build up, those snowflakes of feelings, they become the mountain, and then the avalanche begins and it creates a life of its own. And in that experience, it was creation and destruction in the same experience. The destruction of one way for me, one way of living, one way of being, one reality, one understanding of who I was and how I related to the world. For me, in my family's history, to my knowledge, there had only been one other person that had gone through a divorce. And we have got a big family. So, you know, I'm the only one from my generation that has experienced a divorce. And it was messy because in that time frame, and it took years to recover. We're still working on recovering with my children and helping them to get through the experiences that happened as a result of that. But we are so much better because of it. And I can only speak for myself and where my children are at. But it opened my eyes to what I had been forgetting, which was who I was and how I related to the world and how I related to life itself, what fueled me, what inspired me, what gave me hope. I found because of that experience. You can do the same thing by staying. and working through. No one can tell you what is right or wrong. The most important thing you can do is, I'm going to say this again, be willing to stand naked in front of yourself and see you, all the parts you try to hide from people, all the times when you wear tight fitting clothes, wear them in a way so it makes you look slimmer, or you put your hair in a certain way because it makes you look such and such, or you put makeup on to cover something you don't want to see. You can't hide from yourself if you wish to truly embody this growth and this expansion of this ascension process. You have to put it all out there, all on the table. And you have to truly accept and love you for who you are, so that when you show up authentically for yourself, you are capable of holding space for others to do the exact same thing. And that ripple is the most valuable thing that you could give to the world. The willingness to say, I'm here. I love who I am, who I have been, and who I have becoming. All of those aspects. Because then you can show up courageous, fearless, filled with the bravery of, I'm doing my best, whatever that looks like, by just being you. That's your birthright.
Mm, yeah, for sure. Mm. Thank you for sharing so vulnerably. Oh, I know we're coming up on time, so I want to wrap it up, but I feel like I could talk to you for hours and just get so many incredible nuggets of wisdom, and always just creating the space together to be who we are. And I want to hear more about those struggles and those joys, because this is the space for that. And every time we share something real and personal, we're giving everyone else permission to do the same. That's creating the ripple.
Absolutely.
So thank you for being brave. And thank you for going on this journey with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, my
Until
love.
next time.
Yes. Talk to you soon.